All right, guys, welcome to Wired Watt Smart. Today I have Ash Brown on. He's a residential journeyman electrician that works over here at Watt Smart Electric. And I wanted to have him on just to kind of talk about his experience with becoming an electrician and what that looks like. You know, kind of one of the things that I'm passionate about is kind of getting that word out to the younger guys about getting into the trades and just how much value that can bring into a young person's life by deciding to get into the trades and learn a real skill. And so, yeah, man, this is Ash. What's up, Ash? How's your day going so far, bud?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell me about like what made you decide to even think about being an electrician?
Well, I wanted to be an electrician ever since, I want to say, middle school, junior high, because one of my buddies' dad and his grandpa were both union electricians.
Okay.
So it seemed like a really good trade. So then I started pursuing that in high school through YV Tech. And then I kind of made the mistake of going in my second year, so my senior year of high school. And then, so I only did one semester of electrical when I was in YV Tech, and then that's when COVID started, so I wasn't able to go back into the second semester.
Okay. So you did do the YV Tech program that the Yakima School District offers?
Yes.
But you only got to do one semester of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my advice would be to, if you're going to do it in the first place, then start your junior year so you can do both 2 years and get the full experience of the program.
Okay, so it is a 2-year program then?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can join your second year as well, but there's different options. So you can either join for however long you want, but my recommendation would be going your junior year so you can get all 2 years of just electrical experience. Yeah,
that's great. So guys, what we're talking about, you know, and I touched about this on one of the very first episodes that we did, is the Yakima Valley School District. They have a program that's the Skill Center, and you know they have auto body, automotive, electrical. I think they have a carpentry program. You know, there's a handful of programs that you could look into, but this is offered to high school kids. I actually did auto body when I was in high school. I did 2 years of that. It was a great program. I actually learned how to paint cars. That's something I did for several years. But it's a way to get some good free training, right? And you know, like I said in that first podcast, I do have a handful of guys that have went through that program, and it's something that, you know, A, it's free, right? It's free training that you're not paying for, and B, it's such good training that you can get, and you can get a good base level or a good baseline to get into the trades. So we've established that you did get some book training in the electrical trade. So one of the common things that I'm asked a lot is, you know, hey, do I have to be really good at math to be an electrician? Like, what's your honest take on that? Somebody that's out there, you know, you're twisting wire nuts every day, you're running projects. Like, do you have to be a mathematician to be a good electrician?
No, not at all. So our day-to-day math kind of just looks like your basic multiplication, division, and addition, subtraction. You know, if you could read a tape measure, then you'll be pretty good.
I love that statement, because that's what I tell people too. It's like, if you can read a tape measure and you can do basic math, you can be an electrician.
Exactly.
You know, you get into some more complex stuff as you get into the engineering side of it. You know, there's some more in-depth calculations that you can get into, but you know, to be a journeyman electrician, you don't have to be a mathematician. I mean, that's something that you know, I've said that for years. I know when I went to Perry Tech, you know, I struggled with the entry exam, with the math part of the entry exam.
Yeah.
I failed it a couple times. I had to have some tutoring. You know, it's a little embarrassing to say that, but you know, in high school, you know, I wasn't math driven. I didn't have a math driven mind, and so I think the highest I went in algebra was algebra 1, and then I did business math to finish off my credits that I needed to graduate. And that showed when I couldn't pass that placement test. But I think that kind of shows that you don't have to be a mathematician. It's basic math, and it's applied math, right? Like we're using basic multiplication and division to figure out layouts, to figure out what size wire to run on circuits. I mean, it's real simple stuff that's trainable in the field. Would you agree with that?
Yes, 100%.
Right on. So let's talk about your day to day. Like what does your day to day look like, just from the time you get up to rolling in and just everything? Just kind of lay it out for that kid that might be thinking about getting into the electrical trade. Like, what does your day look like?
Well, first thing, you want to wake up early so you're not rushing in the morning. You want to have, something I like to do is just have all your work clothes, your lunch is ready, everything's ready to go, so you can just throw your clothes on, eat your breakfast, make sure you eat, because, you're going to have long days, so you want to have that energy throughout the day. And then, just show up early, get all your stuff packed into the van, and then just be ready to roll,
Yeah. So what is that? I mean, and that's good to touch on those personal things, but so for example, you're running a project right now, some townhouses, and you've been doing a great job. I mean, it's kind of your first project that you've ran, right?
Yeah.
So what does that look like as far as that goes? I mean, like I see you every morning. You're one of the first guys here. You're getting parts ready. You're getting stuff lined out for your team. Like what's your thought process? Like from, let's say, the end of the day, the previous work day to that morning. Like you're making lists. You're getting stuff prepped. Like walk me through that.
Yeah. So pretty much at the end of the day, throughout the day, I kind of pay attention to parts we're gonna need for tomorrow. But at the same time, I'm making sure all the guys have what they need to finish the day out, productively. And then, so I kind of just make notes on my phone all day. We need this for tomorrow, this for tomorrow, this for tomorrow. And then, when we're all clocked out, I'm at home, I kind of just get a game plan. Like I can have, so-and-so doing this, so-and-so doing this, and it's going to take about this long. And at first, it's kind of hard to get an idea of how long people are going to take on certain things.
Yeah.
But, as it progresses, that's when you start learning. And then you can kind of get a better idea of, everything you need, how long it's going to take. And
yeah, absolutely.
You kind of come up with a game plan that way.
Yeah, and you're and during that process, when you're kind of learning how to run work, it is a process, and it does take time. And there are times where you have to fail in order to kind of figure out what to do better, right?
Yeah.
And so, like you said, man, you're making notes in your phone, you're keeping parts in front of guys, like you're keeping tabs on how long a task takes for a certain person, so how to plan that person's day, right?
Yeah.
And that's, man, it's so cool to hear you say that, because that's what it takes. Like, you have to be thinking about those things in order to kind of keep the flow of the job going smoothly. Yeah. Now, walk me through, like what it's like prior to you, kind of stepping into a small leadership role. Like, let's say, what was your first couple months like, at your other company when you were a green apprentice? Like, you didn't know anything. Reflect on that and try to give some insight to that entry level guy that might be like a little intimidated to kind of try to get into the trades. What does that look like when you're a green apprentice?
Yeah, it's definitely how do you say it? Like, yeah, it's really scary going in at first, especially with like no experience, because there was a couple years where I was just doing other jobs, not even trade related at all. So going in super green, it's scary, and then I forgot what I was gonna say. No, you just have to be like willing, You have to be willing to learn, and you gotta be motivated for sure.
Yeah.
So, as long as you have that, you're willing to learn, you're ready to work, you're staying busy, then you'll be good.
Yeah, I've always said that, if you don't have to be, you don't have to be the smartest person. You just have to be coachable,
Yeah.
and you have to be willing to work, and you have to humble yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like if you were doing something in a prior career that maybe you were a stud at, but you come onto a job site for the first couple months, like you have to humble yourself, and you have to be willing to do whatever the boss asks you to do, right? Like if you're a low guy on the totem pole, you might be cleaning up.
Yeah.
You might be doing these rudimentary tasks that might seem rudimentary to you, but in the grand scheme of pushing the job along, and in the grand scheme of being like a good team member, the small things add up to the big things. And so once you've kind of proven that you can do the small things, you can take the direction, then you're going to start getting more responsibility, right? Is that kind of a fair statement?
Yeah, of course. And like even as a journeyman, I try to set an example. Like I'm over there cleaning up. I carry a box around when we're making up. Trying to stay clean and organized. That way, all of my guys are on the same page as me.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always said that the best the best way to lead is by actually doing it, right?
Exactly.
Like you can't, and I've always said this, man, like I will not ask an employee to do something that I will not go out there and do myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I know you guys don't see me in the field as much as I used to be, but when I do come out there, I try to have my stuff. I'm wearing my apron. I'm organized.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking notes. Just trying to be efficient, right?
Yeah.
And like setting an example for those guys that are under you is such a big deal, right? Because they're like, when you look at that, it's like, hey, if the guy leading me is doing these things, that he's asking me to do, like, there's no reason why that person shouldn't jump in and just do those things.
Yeah.
Versus if you're the leader that is barking orders and yelling at people and you're just on your phone TikToking all day. You don't want to follow somebody like that.
Exactly. And then a big thing is the organization too. Like I know a lot of the younger apprentices, they don't like wearing tool belts or anything. They just like having the little pouches in their pants and stuff. But it's way more efficient to have an actual tool bag, because then you could kind of organize it however it works for you. You can use it how you want, and then your other side could be like wire nuts, staples, screws, and then that way you have everything on you all the time rather than running back to the van a lot of times throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy who especially on new construction, right? Like you should have all those things on you in your tool bag.
Of course.
Because you're more efficient. Especially with some of these residential projects, they're high speed and they're repetitive, and it's like the only way that they turn out real successful is by just getting them done. In a timely fashion. And that's and that's one thing that I monitor on the business side is, I'm looking at labor hours, rough-in hours, trim hours. I'm making sure that they're coming in on time, and and that starts with the leadership on the job site, man. It really does. And so it's one of those things that there's such value in being a good leader, because that's where all of it starts. It starts with the person being organized, the person running the show, having a game plan, right? And that's something that our other lead, Brian, has done a really good job in kind of training you guys on, right? Is like, hey, this is how we do it efficiently. I know you may have done it this way at company X, but this is how we do it. We like to call it the Watt Smart way. That's what, me and Brian have spent years kind of, working these systems into place. We know what works. We know what's efficient. And so when we get, someone new from the team from another company, it's like, hey, man, if you just fall in line and you do the things that we ask you, like, you're going to see that it works.
Yeah.
And so
Brian's done a really good job at that as well. Like shape-shifting me, and he's guiding me in all the right directions, and showing me the ropes of how to be like a decent leader.
And and those are all, and those things bleed into other avenues of your life, right? It's not just at work. Like those are the things help you just become like a better man, right?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
you know, showing up for yourself, taking accountability,
Yeah.
chalking small wins, right? Like
Yeah.
you can stack wins and keep stacking wins, and pretty soon the small wins turn into big wins.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that you know, I feel very, you know, I'm very passionate about that, right? Because there was a point in my life where, you know, when I was much younger, where it's like, if I just do it good enough, it'll be all right, you know, and when you live like that, it is just all right. But when you start taking it serious and you start pouring into being the best at what you're doing, and stacking little wins into big wins, and you do it consistently over a long period of time, that's when you can really start seeing some uplift in your life, right?
Yeah, of course. Like, you know, that was like my mentality as well. You know, I'd be like, yeah, as long as I could get through. And then, you know, whenever you take a loss, nobody really talks about the losses.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
It's all about how you can just get back from that. So, you know, like when you fail your test, you know, obviously you're gonna fail and fail until you pass. But it's all about, you know, just don't let it bother you. Keep studying, and it's the same, like, and it carries over into your life too. You know, like, yeah, stuff is gonna happen, but you know, you already have that mentality from work, so it's carrying over into your actual life as well.
Yeah, man, 100%, 100%. So how many times did you take the residential journeyman's test?
I failed it 2 times, and then I passed on my 3rd try.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's not bad, man. There's a lot of guys that, you know, there's a lot of guys that it takes longer than that. And you know, the people who are listening, like so a journeyman's test, it's a big deal, man. Like a lot of people, you know, if you're a college-bound person, you know, you might kind of sneer at the trade guys or whatever, but to pass a journeyman's electrician's test is it's a big deal for an electrician. There's a huge pay raise there. You know, in my honest opinion, it's the equivalent of a college degree. You know, I mean, the time that goes in just to take the test, and then the time that goes in to study and pass for the test. I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's something that shouldn't be discredited. You know, and I have heard people say, oh, well, you know, you need to go to tech school. You have to have formal training to pass a journeyman's test. Well, this kid right here is a prime example of you know, you don't have to do that. You know, if you're willing to dig in and learn the trade, and you're willing to dig into the book and figure it out, like, you know, you can do that. And I've seen that. You know, the last 11 years having my company, I've trained several guys that have come through the trade with no book experience. You know, no tech school, no Peritech, and you know, we figured it out, and those have been, you know, there have been some really good dudes that I've trained that have come up that way, and yeah, I just want to get that out there that it is possible to do that, but you have to put the work in, and you have to put the work into yourself to get there.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how I got there. You know, it's not going to be easy by any means, especially when you have no prior NEC knowledge, or, you know, I'll be the first one to tell you, you know, as long as you can learn to navigate through the book, you can ask anybody who's passed the test. That's what it's all about. You know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I have several theories on how to pass that test. I've helped a lot of guys pass that test. It is a matter, you know, you do have to have the knowledge, right? But it is a time test, and so there's some different ways to kind of help guys, you know, pass it, some different strategies. But and to clarify, the book that we're talking about is the National Electric Code. It's an NEC. You know, it's a huge book. It's the standards we have to install by. But yeah, I mean, to sum it up, I mean, it's a very challenging test, but it's something that's doable, you know, if you're willing to dive in and just kind of figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, you got anything else, like any young kids that are thinking about, you know, hopping into the trades? Like, you have anything else that any other advice that you would give those guys?
You know, just stay true to it. You know, I know a lot of guys that have gone into different trades, and then they're like, oh, it was getting hard, or, you know, I wasn't home as much, or, you know, if you really want it, then just keep chasing it, you know.
Absolutely.
And then that's another thing, like with the losses, you know, like you're like, oh, I can't pass my test, I'm gonna just give up, or, you know, I'm not gonna try to test anymore. And then you lose your opportunity.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, like, just stick to it. Don't let things get you down. Just keep riding it out, and then, you know, things will start going your way.
That's what's up, dude. That's such good advice. You know, be resilient. You know, when life gives you a shit sandwich, you just got to keep going, right?
Exactly.
And that's how I've always done. That's how I've always done it, man. And you're gonna constantly get kicked in life, in work, in relationships.
Yeah.
And you know, if you can power through those things and not quit, you know, it's amazing what being resilient can do for you in your life on every level, right?
Yeah.
It's like you said, man, you said it perfect. It's taking the losses and, you know, reflecting on that, obviously, and then keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the biggest thing, man. It's forward progress. Yeah, dude, this has been a great conversation here with you today, man. And I do want you to know that we truly value, you know, all the work that you've been doing, and it really has been great to see how you've progressed from when you first came on.
Yeah.
And man, it's really exciting to see that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's what we have for today. If you found value here, give us a like, give us a share. And please get this out to that young person that you know that's thinking about getting into the trades. There's so much value here if they can kind of hear it first person from somebody who is doing it, and not only doing it, but doing it on a high level at a company where they're moving up and they're bringing real value here. So like I said, give it a share with that young person. Thanks, guys.